Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor at the Tenkar's Tavern blog. We are in for some, I guess, but also in the gaming industry. Because, according to the Bell of Lost Souls, under their tabletop news, this is from earlier today, bracing for impact, Trump tariffs and the tabletop game industry. Industry veterans are warning that the promised Trump administration's tariffs would set off a chain reaction and inflict untold damage to the tabletop game industry. And I'm not saying that none of this is potentially not true. It certainly is. However, the United States finalized a Section 301 tariff increase on imports from China. This is September 13th, 2024. Um, this is under the current administration. On September 13th, the United States Trade Representative announced the final Section 301 tariff increases on imports from China, following the original proposal in May 2024. Electric vehicle batteries, battery parts, respirators and face masks, syringes and needles, ship to shore gantry cranes, solar panel cells and modules, steel and aluminum products, and certain critical minerals imported from China will face increased tariff rates ranging between 25% and 100% beginning September 27th, 2024. So it's not like only one administration has used tariffs again, especially against China. China is one of our biggest trading parties. The deficit is huge. Whether that's an issue for you or not, that's up to you. Whether it's an issue to the United States or not, there's differences in opinion. But let's go back to the article. I think the article is very interesting because there's a lot of fear in this article. With the United States election behind us, the world's facing a new reality and coming to terms with what the upcoming Trump administration will bring to the table. President elect's promises was a strong set of across the board tariffs. These are meant to be put in place quickly with the promised goal of protecting U.S. goods. Now, Bella Lost Souls reached out to several industry veterans and that worked or managed various sectors ranging from board games, books, miniatures, retailers. And they essentially painted a dark background. Tariffs, a primer. Listen, a tariff is a tax or duty to be paid on a particular class of imports or exports. Now, if you are paying 100% tariff on car batteries, that increases the price of a car battery in the US by 100%. That math is obvious. Why would you be doing that? Because you're trying to encourage the US consumer, the US manufacturers who are manufacturing electric cars to get their batteries from elsewhere. Does the price get passed on to the consumer? Most likely. So Trump proposed a 20% US, all non US manufactured goods, 20%. All Chinese manufactured goods, an additional 60 to 100%. Well, by the way, tariffs are often used as a negotiating weapon tool, although leverage, as Rachel's saying, I would say at if you're talking 60 to 100%, that's a weapon. You you're starting out at a very high tariff margin. But they go on to a hypothetical product. And here's where things get iffy. All right. And I'm going to bring this back to gaming, not the way they are, but something that we've already seen. we've seen Kickstarters that were long in the tooth. What do I mean? Kickstarters that funded in, I don't know, 2018 and expected to ship in 2019, and maybe they didn't ship until 21. Well, there was a period of time where postage costs in the US were what I would consider reasonable. And then they shat the bed. They jumped hugely. I think the issue that we're going to see is that there are going to be Kickstarters that price themselves without taking into account this potential to increase their final product. Not taking any stance on tariffs itself. This is a reality, though, especially if your Kickstarter has already fulfilled and you plan on buying your books from China, or you have them manufacture your board game in China, and you weren't expecting these large tariffs to cut into your cost. Now, they give some examples. Tariff, non-US goods, COGS, which is cost of goods sold. Okay, so they're saying with a 20% tariff, a $6 COG and a $30 retail becomes a $7.27 20-cent COG, $36 retail. With an 80% tariff, that's a $54 retail. I don't know if necessarily it goes up on that same exponential level, but it certainly does go up. They're saying that they've been high level meetings are occurring. Financial fallout is being plotted. Opportunities are being identified. This is quite literally, according to this article, and I will link this article, um, the sky is falling. But they make a valid point when it comes to book production. Now, there's often, and I've spoken to a number of publishers, big and small, that you can get cheap books from China. You can get higher quality books from China that are less expensive than the same similar books in the US. But most importantly, the bandwidth just isn't there to increase book publishing in the US. Is that 100% correct? Probably close to it. Okay. And now the reason is because obviously US book publishing printers in the US have taken for a large part a step back because they weren't able to compete with the prices coming from China. So, the situation varies widely from company to company. The more exposure a company has to non US and especially Chinese manufactured goods, the more they would be impacted by the tariffs. Okay, well, and folks, these are legitimate concerns, legitimate fears. Larger companies can probably handle the shrinking profit margin a lot better than smaller companies. Now, is this going to affect print on demand, which a lot of our industry relies upon? Well, I'm guessing the paper probably comes from China. So I would expect a marginal increase in cost of print on demand. But companies that were printing largely in China, including WotC, would certainly see an increase in their cost to produce. Now, the article also says that as a healthy enough cash flow, they can actually lean into the tariffs, even with those increased costs, not pass it on to their customers and go for a larger market share. Again, not quite sure how that affects the gaming industry necessarily, because there aren't too many truly large game companies. One veteran publisher in the book side of the industry was really worried about the sector. he noted that in the aftermath of COVID, many of the book printers in these either went out of business or were gobbled up by bigger printers such as Simon and Schuster, Penguin Random House, and others. The bandwidth is not there to increase book publishing in the U.S. So there could, even if they could do it, there would be a delay. Those small printers, those boutique printers, may be more of an option. I think so. There's a fear of an all-out trade war. One publisher tells us his true fear is not the tariffs, but almost certainly of targeted nations enacting retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. This is my opinion. It's all a dance. And until the last note is played, we don't know how the dance is going to end up. Uh, they're talking about 19th century trade wars. That's somebody that's way too much in the history of it. Retailer fears. We'll see a 20 to 25% of the industry retailers out of business in an 18 to 36 month period. My obviously not a professional opinion, but I would have said that we would say without these tariffs, we would see a 20 to 25% of the industry retailers out of business in an 18 to 36 month period, based largely upon the fact that WotC is focusing on digital and trying to get out of supporting the brick and mortar, wants their players not to be playing at home or at a game shop or at a library, wants them playing via their VTT. Uh, I think that's a prediction that is a solid prediction. The next year and a half, 3 years, I would expect that to be happening in any case. I don't expect that tariffs will have a large effect. They could have an effect, certainly. But I would expect that contraction in any case. It's a horrible market, and it's a really tough field to try to survive in as a business. We're done carrying stuff from China, was quoted to us by one retailer who was already looking to reduce exposure to overseas goods. The retail tabletop game industry was described by multiple veterans as already challenging since the days of COVID. We'll see if the tariffs are enacted. One store says we'll see that 36 month, 20 to 25% closure. Again, I think you'll see it either way. Uh, Crowdfunding, a sector particularly vulnerable to tariffs. Yes, but more so those that should have already fulfilled, or those that planned on printing over in China before these tariffs were being discussed. And going to be interesting. Finally, some veterans held out hope in the industry's ability to survive. They noted that in the broad genre of entertainment, things such as board games provide a very high level of entertainment for the dollar compared to other pricier avenues such as video games. It was posited that, similar to the COVID days when board games saw a spike in sales, consumers swamped by broad price increases might choose the bargain entertainment proposition of the tabletop games industry over others. All right, so the sky is certainly darkening, but until this plays out, I think it's certainly, if you are reliant upon product coming from China, there's going to be an issue. I don't think anybody's surprised by it, but I showed you before. We've been doing this to other aspects of our trade with China already under the current administration. I doubt that we will see something that isn't a bit more focused and targeted when it comes to this, but we're certainly targeting huge tariffs on certain parts of our trade with China already. So tell me what you think. Tell me what I really want to know. That 20 to 25% of retailers closing in the next year and a half to 3 years. Do you think that's because of potential tariffs, or do you think that's the direction the economy has been going anyway? That's the direction game store economy has been going anyway. I think those numbers were achievable without tariffs. I actually, where we're at now before tariffs would make those numbers even worse. But tell me what you think. I'd like to hear about it. Also, the links up on the screen is how you can support this channel. Tenkar, there's Tavern.games/humble takes you to Humble Bundle. Lots of RPG bundles up there right now. Tenkar, there's Tavern.games, DTRPG, Drive Through RPG. These are both affiliate links. We really do how you support us. Speakpipe.com/tavern chat for voicemails. Other than that, there'll be a live stream tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Hope to see you there. Good night. God bless.